The message came on a Tuesday morning. It was short, precise, and completely changed human history forever. Dr. Alan Morris stared at his computer screen in NASA's communication lab, his coffee growing cold beside him. The pattern of signals was unlike anything he had seen before. It was too regular to be natural, too complex to be random noise. "I think we got something," he said to the empty room. Within hours, the lab filled with people. Within days, the world knew. We were not alone. The message was simple once they understood the mathematical key. It was a greeting from something calling itself the Coreward Alliance, a group of species that formed a galactic government. They were shocked to find signals coming from Earth, a planet they had classified as a Class 13 Deathworld. "What does that even mean?" asked Lisa Franklin, rubbing her tired eyes. The xenobiologist had been called in from her university position 3 days ago and had barely slept since. Alan shook his head. "I don't know, but they seem surprised we exist at all." Around the world, governments scrambled to respond. The United Nations convened an emergency session. Military forces went on high alert. Religious leaders made statements. And in the small Mesa lab, Alan and his growing team worked to establish a dialogue. "They want to send representatives," Alan announced at the emergency briefing. The room, filled with military officers, scientists, and government officials, fell silent. "Are we going to let them?" asked the stern-faced general. Major Kevin Wright, sitting quietly at the end of the table, finally spoke. "We'd be fools not to. This is the greatest opportunity in human history." Kevin had not expected to be here. With his military background and unusual diplomatic experience in conflict zones, he had been pulled from his regular duties and flown to NASA overnight. Now he found himself at the center of humanity's first contact scenario. "The Coreward Alliance seems peaceful," Alan continued, "but they're clearly afraid of something. They keep mentioning our remarkable survival on this hostile world, like they can't believe we're here." Lisa projected an image on the screen. "I've been studying their limited descriptions of other worlds. If I understand correctly, most intelligent species evolved on what they call Class 3 to 5 worlds. Earth is a 13, the highest they've recorded." "Meaning what?" Kevin asked. "Meaning Earth is considered extremely dangerous by galactic standards. High gravity, harsh radiation, extreme temperature variations, aggressive life forms, violent weather patterns. Everything about Earth seems lethal to them." The room processed this information. Humans had always considered Earth to be perfect for life. The idea that it was actually an extreme environment was difficult to accept. "So we're the tough guys of the galaxy," someone joked nervously. "Maybe," Lisa said seriously. "And that might be why their message seems so cautious." 3 weeks later, the response team was assembled. Major Kevin Wright would lead the diplomatic mission, with Alan, Lisa, and a dozen other specialists backing him up. The aliens had agreed to land at a remote military base in the desert. As the team made final preparations, Kevin stared at the night sky. Tomorrow, he would meet beings from another world. Beings who thought humans were some kind of super survivors on a death planet. "Major," Alan called from the doorway, "the president is on the line for your final briefing." Kevin nodded and took one last look at the stars. Up there somewhere was a ship, carrying creatures who feared Earth so much they needed special protection just to visit. Yet humans had evolved here, thrived here, never knowing they were living on what the galaxy considered a death trap. Tomorrow, everything would change. The status of humanity in the cosmos would be redefined. And Kevin Wright, an ordinary man from an extraordinary planet, would be the first to say hello. The first contact with the Coreward Alliance was about to begin. The alien ship was much smaller than anyone expected. It descended through Earth's atmosphere with barely a sound, a sleek oval craft no larger than a bus. It landed gently on the desert floor, kicking up only a small cloud of dust. Major Kevin Wright stood at the front of the welcome committee, his heart pounding in his chest. Beside him, Alan and Lisa shifted nervously. None of them spoke. What could you say at a moment like this? A seam appeared in the side of the craft. It widened slowly, revealing a soft blue light from within. Then came the visitors. They were not what humanity had imagined. The first alien to emerge stood only 4 feet tall. It wore what looked like a full-body containment suit with a clear bubble around its head. Inside, Kevin could see a slender face with large, wide-set eyes. The creature moved cautiously, as if each step required great effort. "They're struggling with our gravity," Lisa whispered. 2 more aliens followed the first, each moving with the same careful steps. They carried no visible weapons. Instead, they held small devices that blinked with colored lights. "Welcome to Earth," Kevin said clearly, following the protocol they had established through messages. "We are honored by your visit." The lead alien raised a 6-fingered hand in greeting. A mechanical voice emerged from a device on its suit. "We are grateful for your welcome." The translation was halting but clear. "I am Ambassador Zilktar of the Coreword Alliance. We come in peace and great curiosity." The meeting moved to a specially prepared conference room. The aliens requested lower lighting and frequently checked readings on their suits. They seemed nervous, almost chumpy. "Please forgive our caution," Ambassador Zilktar said after settling into a specially designed chair. "Your world is extreme by our standards. The gravity alone is nearly double what my species evolved with. And your atmospheric oxygen levels are." The alien made a gesture that might have been a shudder. "Is that why Earth is classified as a Class 13 death world?" Alan asked. The alien's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Yes, it is the highest classification in our records. No known sentient species has evolved in such conditions. Until now." Dr. Samantha Powell, the team's physiologist, leaned forward. "What makes a world dangerous in your understanding?" "Gravity, radiation, temperature extremes, atmospheric composition, predator evolution, tectonic activity, weather patterns." The alien listed each factor with a touch to its suit controls. "Earth exceeds safe parameters in every category. Your sun alone emits radiation that would be lethal on our worlds without extreme protection." The humans exchanged glances. The sun had always been simply the sun. "And yet here we are," Kevin said. "Yes," Zilktar agreed. "Here you are. A biological impossibility that challenges thousands of years of galactic understanding." As the meeting continued, the humans began to grasp just how different they were. When an aide brought in water bottles, Zilktar and the other aliens watched in what seemed like horror as Kevin casually twisted off a cap. "That casual strength," Zilktar noted. "On my world, that would require a machine." Later, when Samantha sneezed unexpectedly, the aliens nearly leaped from their chairs in alarm. "Your bodies withstand internal pressures that would rupture our organs," one of the alien scientists explained after calming down. By the end of the first day, both sides were mentally exhausted. The aliens returned to their ship, needing what they called atmospheric recovery time. As the human team compared notes that evening, a new understanding began to form. They weren't just meeting aliens. They were meeting creatures who found humans just as alien and terrifying. "They see us as some kind of super beings," Lisa said, reviewing her notes. "Creatures who thrive in conditions that would kill them instantly." Kevin looked out at the desert night. "Tomorrow, we need to show them more of what humans can do. I think they need to understand who they're dealing with." No one realized then just how complicated things would soon become. On the third day, Ambassador Zilktar requested a tour of human facilities. Kevin led the alien delegation through carefully selected areas of the base, watching their reactions closely. The gym caused the greatest stir. A soldier was bench-pressing weights when they entered. Zilktar's translator made a strange sound as the alien watched the human lift and lower the heavy bar. "He is moving." "How much weight?" Zilktar asked. "About 200 pounds, Kevin replied. "That's fairly average for a trained human male." The aliens conferred among themselves in their musical language. Their translator finally conveyed, on our world, that would crush a person flat. Later, they visited the kitchen. The chef was chopping vegetables for the evening meal, the knife moving quickly in his practiced hands. The aliens stepped back in alarm. "You allow blades near food preparation," one of them asked. "Of course," Kevin said. "How else would we cut things?" "With molecular separators," Zilktar explained. "Sharp metal seams. Dangerous." When the chef offered samples of the day's soup, the aliens examined the steaming liquid with their instruments. "It contains capsaicin," one said in clear alarm. "A defense chemical from plants." "A toxin." Samantha smiled. "We call it spicy. Many humans enjoy the sensation." "You eat plant defense toxins for pleasure." Zilktar seemed unable to process this information. By afternoon, Earth had assembled its own diplomatic mission. Carol Johnson, a veteran diplomat from the State Department, would lead the human delegation to the Corward Alliance station orbiting Saturn. The aliens had placed it there, explaining that Earth's immediate space was too radioactively active for their comfort. "We must prepare you for the journey," Zilktar told Carol during the briefing. "Our artificial gravity is set much lower than Earth's. You will feel bouncy, and our lighting might seem dim to your eyes. We'll adapt," Carol assured them. "Humans are good at that." As preparations continued, Major Wright decided to help move equipment to the alien shuttle. He grabbed a large container that the aliens had marked as requiring mechanical assistance. He lifted it easily and carried it up the ramp. When he turned, he found Zilktar and the entire alien crew staring at him. "That unit masses 50 of your kilograms," Zilktar said quietly. "You lifted it with one arm." Kevin shrugged. "It's not that heavy for a human." The aliens spoke rapidly among themselves. Kevin noticed their body language had changed. There was something new in their posture. Was it fear? Later that evening, Alan made a breakthrough in translating more of the alien records about Earth. Their classification system is based on completely different evolutionary assumptions, he told the team. They evolved on worlds with minimal environmental pressure. Their bodies never needed to develop our kind of strength or resilience. Lisa nodded. Their homeworlds have stable climates, low gravity, minimal radiation, few predators. Everything that drove human evolution is absent there. No wonder they're shocked by us, Samantha added. We're built to survive conditions they consider unsurvivable. That night, as the human delegation prepared to depart for the Saturn station, Carol pulled Kevin aside. "I've been studying their cultural briefings," she said quietly. "There's something they're not telling us. Some species in the Alliance are deeply uncomfortable with our existence." "Uncomfortable how?" Kevin asked. "Think about it," Carol replied. "In their understanding, nothing should survive on a Class 13 world, yet here we are. Some of them think we're impossible. And things that should be impossible make people scared." Kevin watched the aliens preparing their shuttle, their movements always careful, always protected. "We need to be cautious," Carol continued. "We're stepping into a galaxy that might not be ready for us." She couldn't have known how right she was. The Saturn station hung in space like a silver flower. Carol Johnson and her team stared out the shuttle windows in wonder as they approached. None of them had ever been this far from Earth before. "It's beautiful," Carol whispered. Their wonder turned to concern when they docked. 6 armed aliens met them at the airlock. These were not the same species as Zilktar. They were taller, with green-tinted skin, and 3 pairs of eyes running down the sides of their elongated heads. "Security forces," their human-trained translator explained. "For station safety." Carol sensed the tension immediately. These guards weren't just providing routine security. They were treating the humans like dangerous animals. Back on Earth, Alan and Lisa continued working with Zilktar. The ambassador had grown more comfortable with humans, but still jumped whenever someone moved too quickly. "There is something I must show you," Zilktar said one morning. The alien connected a device to the base computers. A star map appeared, with one small sector highlighted. Long ago, another species visited your solar system. They left warnings about Earth in our ancient records. That is why Earth was classified as it is. Alan leaned forward. What species? What did they say? They were called the Precursors. They vanished thousands of years ago. Their warning about Earth was simple but terrifying. Zilktar touched the screen, and strange symbols appeared. It translates roughly to, "The Forge world must remain sealed. What emerges will reshape the galaxy." Lisa and Alan exchanged glances. Forge world. Lisa asked, "A place where things are created through pressure and heat," Zilktar explained. "We always assumed it meant Earth was too dangerous to approach. Now I wonder if it meant something else." On the Saturn station, things were deteriorating quickly. Carol's team was restricted to small quarters. Their communications with Earth were delayed and monitored. Major Wright noticed the food they were given was barely enough to maintain human metabolism. The aliens didn't understand human nutritional needs, or didn't care. "They're treating us like prisoners," Dr. Powell whispered during their evening meal. Kevin nodded slightly. "I've been mapping the station. There's a secondary docking bay 3 levels down. You think we need to escape?" Carol asked quietly. "I think we need to be ready for anything." They were right to be cautious. That night, alarms blared throughout the station. Guards rushed the human quarters, weapons drawn. "What's happening?" Carol demanded as they were herded into a secure room. Their translator wasn't working anymore, but one of the green-skinned aliens spoke broken English. "Bad news. Earth quarantine now. No communication." "Quarantine? By whose order?" Kevin asked sharply. The alien didn't answer. The door sealed with a hiss, locking the humans inside. On Earth, similar events were unfolding. Zilktar rushed into the research lab, body language showing clear distress. "You must hide me," the ambassador said. "My ship has been commanded to leave immediately. Earth is to be isolated by order of Sub-Commander Vextil." "Who is Vextil?" Alan asked. "A high officer in the Alliance military. He believes humans are too dangerous to join galactic society. He has declared Earth a threat to all civilized worlds." Lisa looked horrified. "Based on what?" "Based on you," Zilktar said simply. "Your strength, your endurance, your adaptability. The things that make you impressive to me make you terrifying to many." Ellen watched as military vehicles approached the base on security monitors. "Those aren't our troops." "No," Zilktar agreed. "Those will be Vextil's security forces. They come to ensure Earth remains isolated, perhaps forever." In space, Major Wright was already working on an escape plan. If Earth was under threat, they needed to return home immediately. But first, they needed to discover why some aliens were so afraid of humans that they would quarantine an entire planet. The answer was hidden somewhere in those ancient precursor warnings. Earth wasn't just a death world. It was something far more important. Alan worked through the night, analyzing the precursor message Zilktar had shared. The alien ambassador had hidden with them, in a secure part of the base as Alliance forces surrounded the facility. "This symbol sequence is strange," Alan said, pointing to his screen. "It doesn't match the rest of the text pattern." Lisa leaned closer. Could it be a different dialect? Zilktar made a soft trilling sound. It might be pure precursor language. Most of their records were translated by later species. Ellen isolated the section and ran it through a different algorithm. Slowly, new meanings emerge. "It's not saying Earth should remain sealed because it's dangerous," Alan said with growing excitement. "It's saying Earth was sealed to protect what was growing here. Us." At the Saturn station, Major Wright had discovered an access panel in their locked quarters. The aliens had underestimated human strength and ingenuity. While Carol kept the guards distracted with formal diplomatic complaints, Kevin and Samantha worked to bypass the locking mechanism. They designed this for their strength levels, not ours, Kevin whispered as he forced the panel open. The station's air felt thin to human lungs, and the low gravity made their movements bouncy. But these conditions, meant to weaken most species, actually gave the humans advantages. They could jump higher, move larger objects, and needed less rest than their captors expected. Kevin led Samantha through the access tunnels. They needed to reach a communication array to contact Earth and learn what was happening. Back on Earth, Alan made another breakthrough. The Precursors didn't just find Earth, he told Lisa and Zilktar. According to these records, they made Earth this way. Made it? Lisa asked. Earth wasn't naturally a Class 13 world. The Precursors engineered it to be extreme. They wanted to create a planet that would produce strong, adaptable life forms. Zilktar's large eyes widened further. You mean humans were designed? Not directly, Alan explained. The Precursors created the conditions that would force life to become tough. They made Earth harsh so that whatever evolved here would be resilient. Lisa sat down heavily. We're the result of an ancient experiment. More like an ancient plan. Alan corrected. The Precursors needed something, and they hoped Earth would create it. On the Saturn station, Kevin and Samantha reached a communication room. As Samantha kept watch, Kevin tried to access the system. It's locked down tight, he muttered. Then he noticed something. The system required 3 levels of authorization, with different biological readings for each. The aliens needed 3 different species to agree before taking major actions. They don't trust each other, Kevin realized. The Alliance isn't as united as they pretended. At that moment, alarms blared again. They had been discovered. Run, Samantha shouted. As they fled, they passed a data terminal. In a split-second decision, Kevin smashed the protective cover and yanked out a storage device. Whatever information it held might be useful. Back on Earth, military forces from multiple nations had surrounded the alien perimeter around the NASA base. Tensions were high as human governments demanded explanations for the sudden hostile actions. Inside, Zilktar looked increasingly distressed. Vextil is coming himself, the ambassador said. He has learned something that has made him even more determined to isolate Earth. What could make him so afraid of us? Lisa wondered. Alan was still working on the Precursor message. I think I know, he said softly. The Precursors were preparing for something. A threat they knew was coming. He pointed to the final section of text. Earth wasn't just a forge for creating tough species. It was a training ground for warriors. Warriors? Lisa asked. The message ends with a prediction, something about an enemy returning after a great cycle. The Precursors are gone, but they built Earth to create their successors, species that could fight where they failed. Zilktar made a sound like a gasp. That is what Vextil fears. Not just that humans are strong, but that you were meant to be strong. That your purpose is to fight. Outside, new ships appeared in the sky. The confrontation was about to begin. The ships above Earth were not like the small diplomatic vessel that had first arrived. These were larger, with sharp angles and weapon ports clearly visible along their hulls. They moved into position around the planet, a metal net ready to trap humanity. Inside the NASA base, military leaders from around the world joined an emergency meeting. Screens showed the alien vessels. Tension filled the room. They have us outgunned, said General Miller. Our weapons can't reach their positions. Alan stepped forward. We need to talk to them. Show them we're not the threat they think we are. And if they won't listen, asked the Secretary of Defense. No one had an answer. On the Saturn station, Kevin and Samantha had been recaptured. The guards were no longer taking chances. They used energy restraints that adjusted to human strength levels. Kevin tested his bonds but couldn't break free. They were brought to a large chamber where Carol was already waiting. A new alien entered, taller than the others, with dark red skin and multiple eyes that moved independently. He wore an elaborate uniform with glowing symbols. I am Sub-Commander Vextil, the alien announced through a translator. I must decide what to do with you and your dangerous world. We've done nothing threatening, Carol said firmly. We came in peace. Peace, Vextil repeated. An interesting word from a species designed for war. Kevin looked up sharply. What do you mean, designed? We have studied the Precursor records, Vextil said. Earth was their project. They transformed a normal world into a death trap, forcing life to become stronger, faster, more aggressive with each generation. Samantha spoke up. Evolution isn't design. We adapted naturally. Nothing about Earth is natural, Vextil countered. The precursors increased your gravity, thinned your atmospheric protection, introduced extreme climate variations, and seeded aggressive predator species, all to create what you have become. The humans exchanged shocked glances. This was far beyond what Alan had discovered. Why would they do that? Carol asked. Because they were losing a war, Vextil said simply. A war against an enemy that nearly destroyed them. They hoped Earth would produce warriors that could succeed where they failed. Back on Earth, Zilktar suddenly received a signal on his personal device. His eyes widened as he read the message. The Alliance Council is divided, he told Alan and Lisa. Many species oppose Vextil's actions, but he has control of the military forces. He's acting without full authority. Can we use that? Alan asked. Perhaps. Zilktar began typing rapidly. There are diplomatic channels still open. Outside, the alien ships had begun to move. They formed a tight pattern above major cities. Humans worldwide watched the skies with fear. In orbit, a small shuttle departed from Vextil's command ship. It entered Earth's atmosphere, heading directly for the NASA base. 4 more followed, targeting other locations around the globe. They're landing troops, General Miller announced grimly. No, Zilktar corrected. Those are containment units. They will release a field that prevents technology from functioning. Vextil means to push humanity back to a pre-industrial state. He can't do that, Lisa exclaimed. He believes he must, Zilktar said. In his mind, humans must be contained before you develop space travel and spread through the galaxy. Elen looked at the screens showing the approaching shuttles. We need to show them the truth. Humans aren't just warriors. We're explorers, builders, healers too. Will Vextil listen? Lisa asked. He might not, Zilktar admitted, but others in the Alliance will. As the first shuttle touched down outside the base perimeter, human military forces moved into position. They would not fire first, but they stood ready to defend Earth. Inside the Saturn station, Kevin had made a discovery. The data device he had stolen contained security codes. He only needed a chance to use them. We're getting out of here, he whispered to Carol and Samantha. And then we're going home. The containment unit landed with a soft hiss on the desert floor. Human soldiers formed a line, weapons ready but not yet aimed. General Miller had given strict orders. No first strikes. A door opened in the alien device. 3 figures in heavy armor stepped out, carrying what looked like tall metal rods. They began placing these in the ground around the base. Those will create the suppression field, Zilktar explained. Once activated, no electrical device will function within 5 miles. Elen watched the aliens work. That would take us back to the 1800s. That is the intention, Zilktar confirmed. Vextil believes a contained humanity is an acceptable solution. Inside the base, Lisa had been studying the precursor data. Something caught her attention. Alan, look at these genetic markers. They're in human DNA. Alan examined her screen. What am I looking at? Proof that humans weren't just shaped by Earth's conditions. The precursors made small adjustments to early human ancestors. They enhanced our problem-solving abilities, our adaptability, our ability to use tools. Zilktar made a clicking sound of surprise. That would change everything. Direct intervention is forbidden under Alliance law. Can we prove this to the Alliance Council? Alan asked. If we can transmit this data, yes. In space, the Saturn station was in chaos. Kevin had used the stolen security codes to access the station's systems. He had released the door locks on all levels, allowing free movement throughout the station. This way, he told Carol and Samantha. They moved quickly through the corridors, heading for the small shuttle bay Kevin had discovered earlier. Station alarms blared, but the security forces were confused. Without the containment doors, they couldn't track or trap the humans. Kevin had also shut down the internal sensors. How did you know which systems to target? Samantha asked as they ran. I watched how they operated the controls, Kevin said. Their security is built on cooperation between species, but that's also their weakness. No single authority can lock everything down. They reached the shuttle bay. 2 guards stood at the entrance. Kevin didn't slow down. He rushed forward with speed that stunned the aliens. Their weapons came up too late. Kevin knocked them aside, careful not to cause serious injury. Their reflexes are so slow, Carol observed as they entered the bay. To them, we move like lightning, Samantha said. On Earth, the standoff continued. More containment units had landed around the world. Humans everywhere watched and waited. Military forces were deployed but held back from engaging. Zilktar was in constant communication with Alliance members who opposed Vextil's actions. The Council is meeting in emergency session, he reported, but decisions take time. Time we don't have, General Miller said, pointing to the screens. The aliens had nearly finished placing their suppression rods. Then Alan had an idea. The precursors left messages throughout the galaxy, right? Not just about Earth. Yes, Zilktar confirmed. Their warnings and data caches are found on many worlds. What if we could send our own message, something that would make the whole galaxy understand what Earth really is? Before Zilktar could answer, a new alert sounded. A small ship had entered Earth's atmosphere at incredible speed. It flew a chaotic pattern, evading the larger Alliance vessels. It's one of their shuttles, a technician reported, but it's flying like nothing we've ever seen. Kevin Wright's voice came through the communication system. Earth base, this is Major Wright. We've borrowed transportation and brought some interesting information home. The stolen shuttle landed beside the NASA facility. Kevin, Carol, and Samantha emerged, carrying data devices taken from the Saturn station. We found their complete records, Kevin told Alan as they rushed inside, including the real reason some of them fear humans so much. The ancient enemy the precursors fought? Alan asked. Yes, Carol said grimly. And according to their deep space monitoring, that enemy is waking up again. That's why Vextil is so desperate to contain us. He's afraid of what we might become if we're allowed to develop further. Outside, the alien troops activated the first suppression rod. It began to glow with bright blue energy. The final confrontation was about to begin. The blue energy from the suppression rod spread slowly across the desert. Electronic devices began to fail as the field expanded. Lights flickered and died. Vehicles stalled. Communications went silent. Inside the base, backup generators kicked in, but they wouldn't last long once the field reached them. We need to broadcast this data now, Kevin said, connecting the stolen devices to the base computers. Before we lose all power. Carol and Zilktar worked together, composing a message to the Alliance Council. Lisa and Samantha prepared the genetic evidence showing the precursors' direct involvement in human development. Incoming transmission, a technician called out. It's from Vextil. The alien commander's face appeared on screen. His multiple eyes focused independently, giving him an unsettling appearance. Your resistance is pointless, he said. The containment has begun. Accept your place. Alan stepped forward. We know about the ancient enemy. We know why the precursors created Earth as they did. Vextil's eyes widened slightly. Then you understand why you must be contained. If the Devourers return, they must not find weapons waiting for them. We're not weapons, Heaven argued. We're people. We have a right to determine our own future. The needs of galactic safety outweigh your desires, Vextil replied coldly. Then Zilktar moved into view. The council votes. Sub-Commander, I have just received word. Your actions are not authorized. For the first time, Vextil looked uncertain. The council does not understand the threat. Perhaps not, Zilktar agreed. But they understand law. The precursors violated our most sacred principle, non-interference with natural evolution. Their direct genetic manipulation of humans makes Earth a protected case. The suppression field had reached the base perimeter. Lights began to flicker. Transmit now, Kevin urged. Alan pressed the final command. Their message, along with all the evidence, shot upward to the waiting Alliance ships. From there, it would spread to every world in the Coreward Alliance. Vextil's image wavered as the power fluctuated. It changes nothing. The containment continues. Then a new voice spoke. An older alien appeared on a split screen. No, Vextil. It ends now. High Counselor. Vextil's voice held shock. We have received the Earth transmission. The evidence is clear. The humans are victims of precursor manipulation. They have protection status effective immediately. The generators failed. The screens went dark. For several long minutes, the base sat in silence and darkness. Then, without warning, the lights came back on. Outside, the blue energy field was receding. The suppression rods are shutting down, General Miller reported. Across the world, the same thing was happening. The containment units powered down. The ships in orbit began to withdraw. 3 days later, the NASA base hosted a very different meeting. Representatives from the Alliance Council stood before human leaders from around the world. The High Counselor spoke with formal solemnity. Earth is reclassified as a Genesis world, the first in our records. Your species has the right to join the galactic community as equals, not as subjects. And what about this ancient enemy? The United Nations Secretary-General asked. These devourers that Vextil fears. Long-range sensors have detected movement at the edges of known space, the High Counselor admitted. If they are returning, we will need every ally we can find. Kevin listened with mixed feelings. Earth had won its freedom, but at what cost? Were humans destined to fight a war they hadn't started? Lisa seemed to read his thoughts. The precursors were wrong to manipulate us without consent, but they weren't wrong about human potential. After the ceremonies, Zilktar approached Kevin. My government requests that you consider becoming Earth's ambassador to the Alliance. Kevin looked surprised. Me? Why? Because you understand both worlds now. You've seen our strength and our fear. You can help build the bridge between us. As Kevin looked up at the stars that night, he realized Earth's position in the galaxy had forever changed. No longer isolated on their Deathworld, humans would step onto the galactic stage, not as warriors or weapons, but as partners. The Class 13 label that had defined Earth was shattered, replaced by something new, hope. And if the ancient enemy did return, they would find not just one species waiting, but a united galaxy, stronger together than apart.